Okay, back in this thing. Pretty chilly. Turn on some lights. Okay, well, today's daily law was, let's see, something about making yourself needed. Let's read it. Create the need for you. Most people depend on you. More is to be gained from each dependence than courtesy. He who has slaked his thirst immediately turns his back on the well, no longer needing it. It's Balthazar Gracian. Many of the great condottieri of Renaissance, I don't know that word, of Renaissance Italy suffered the same fate. They won battle after battle, for their employers only to find themselves banished, imprisoned, or executed. The problem was not ingratitude. It was that there were so many other condottieri, as able and valiant as they were. They were replaceable. Nothing was lost by killing them. Meanwhile, the older among them had grown powerful themselves and wanted more and more money for their services. How much better then to do away with them and hire younger, cheaper mercenaries? Such is the fate, to a lesser violent degree, one hopes, of those who do not make others dependent on them. Sooner or later, someone comes along who can do the same job as well as they can. Someone younger, fresher, less expensive, less threatening. Necessity rules the world. People rarely act unless compelled to. If you create no need for yourself, then you will be done away with at the first opportunity. Strive to be the only one who can do what you do, and make the fate of those who hire you so entwined with yours that they cannot possibly get rid of you. As from the 48 laws of power, learn to keep people dependent on you. That's law number 11. These are the power laws that people use in the world in terms of business. Business is war. And your team or your army is only as necessary as they are useful. So when it comes to the world and how you interact at your work or your job or your personal relationship, they say even love is war. So to a certain degree, love is a battlefield, right? Isn't there a song? Your usefulness and what people get out of you. If they deem it irrelevant or unnecessary, sooner or later they will see no need for you. I've experienced this in my personal life, in a past life when I was married. I guess I was seen as not as necessary, so I was cast aside as being irrelevant. So instead of being fired, I walked away. Fired, so to speak, in a metaphorical sense. I saw the fate of where that road goes. So screw that, I'm out of here. I'm not staying around for this. The same goes for situations that no longer serve you. If you are no longer getting out of a situation which you used to get or need, leave before it gets worse. Before not only does it not serve you, it starts to take from you. You don't want that dynamic to come around. It's going to take your time, your energy, your vital life source. It's just going to zap all your vitality, and your love of life will just soon dwindle to nothing. That's when you become suicidal. I used to be there, and then everything turned around when I walked away towards my new life, the life I'm currently living now. That was my metaphorical suicide. So yeah, that's the law of the day. Not so much make people dependent on you, but be so useful and so reliable and so capable that people come not so much to need you, but see the value in you. How about that? It's a better way to spin that law from a dark dynamic to a more positive one. Be so valuable that people would hate to lose you. That's a good way to put it. Whew, it's pretty cold. I'm trying to keep these videos light, but some of this material is pretty dark and it is pretty serious when it comes to life. And for the younger generation that's not too experienced out there, I think this is pretty useful to know. You know, there's a lot of people that probably already know all this stuff. It's fine. These videos aren't for you. But they're very inexperienced and naive people out there. I was one of them. And I wish I had somebody telling me this at a much younger age. Stop looking at the world with... Just because you have the best intentions doesn't mean everybody else does. They are not you. You know, there are other people that don't want the best for everyone else. They only want the best for them, and if that means stepping all over you, they will do it. And that's a very hard lesson that I had to learn personally. So, here we go. It's the road. Whew, it is chilly. I woke up to these guys already arguing. Fucking 3:30 in the morning, and they are already cussing each other out as I'm leaving my place. I have no idea about what. Everybody's so... Especially the guys. You could tell how these guys talk. They're more from the street. You know, with their slang. Couldn't even understand what they were saying. Something dog and this. I don't even know what the fuck the guy was saying. But obviously the guy that was leaving, as I was leaving, there was somebody already out on the walkway leaving too. And as I'm moving towards the stairs, some other dude popped his head out the door and started like cussing at him. And the other guy that was leaving kind of muttered something back that I didn't understand. And as I was, walking, we were both walking out of the building. I thought maybe he was just a visitor, but no, this guy that was leaving with me, he walked into the parking area and got in his car. So he obviously lives there too. And I'm like, what the heck? You have to live with the person that was just talking to you like that? That's crazy. I would be gone. Fuck that. Sorry, didn't mean to cuss. I don't know why people put themselves through situations like that. Why do you want to exist? That much stress in your life. Now he has to come back. Whoever that person is that just left right now, he has to come back to that apartment with whoever that person is in there. That's crazy. Another dude all pissed off to come home to that? Psst, deal with this. I'm out. That would be me. I'm glad I didn't ever have like roommates like with a bunch of guys and stuff like that. I thought about that once because I was friends with a bunch of guys that all shared like a big old apartment. And it seemed like a cool idea, At that time, it was another life. But heck no, forget that. Not into it. That's why I'm so grateful to have the woman that I have and the relationship that I have now. To not have to come home to that kind of stress. Oh my gosh. This is like heaven. So as busy as my life is, and it's not even all that busy. I mean, I just work a lot, Then it's not even that stressful, because I have an easy job. And then my dog job, that's not stress. I'm with dogs. I love dogs. But I have very little drama. I don't have drama. I don't have any drama like that. People are cussing me out and having the dread going home. Oh, I love going home with my woman. It is cold. It is cold beep. Man, this truck driver is moving. That dude is rolling. So yeah, be useful for all the right reasons. Don't be useful and with the intention of making people have to depend on you. Just be so useful that's the position you end up being in. Like from my personal life, when I used to work in rescue, because I work at a daycare now, so it's technically not animal rescue work. But the first rescue I worked at, that's the position that I found myself in. I became so useful that they wanted us there as employees. I was just volunteer. I had no intention of trying to get a job there. But me and my woman became so useful in terms of rehabilitating dogs that they came to need us to a certain degree, to the point where they wanted us to work there. But I became disillusioned after a certain point. I didn't enjoy the environment as much. So I found myself not being in the actual physical facility. I just would take dogs for walks. I'd be gone for most of the time, not even there. And that's when I found myself in the position where I guess they saw, well, I guess we don't really need this guy anymore, which was fine with me because it helped me move on. And they ended up letting us go as employees, which was probably for the better because that place was coming to an end anyways. And not too long after we left, that place shut down. They didn't survive long after us leaving, which I metaphorically take as we were really the heart of that place, and we brought that place together and made it what it was. You know, even though what the rescue was doing was a big deal, but I find it very interesting that not long after me and my woman left, that place died. So that's what they get. That's what you get. But yeah, yep. That's why it's like at this job I'm at now, there's a multitude of different, they call them operations, a multitude of tasks along the production line. You know, at the very end, mine is Operation 400, and it goes by like tens, you know, up 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, all the way to 400. So even where I'm at now, you know, the more operations you know, the more useful you are on that production line. You know, you're pretty much plug and play. Oh, somebody called out, I can do that, I'll step in, bam, doing it. Like today I'm going to work, but not to do my normal operation. So my normal operation is to test the device after it's fully made. But there's a component of the device, it's a 3D magnet. That's what they call it, 3D, three-dimensional. So most magnets have a positive and a negative side. And when it comes to an MRI scan, you can't put a regular magnet into that device. It'll literally probably rip it out of the skull of the person that this device is implanted in. So they designed a magnet that's, for whatever reason, I know how it's put together, but the polarity of the magnet is three-dimensional. Instead of having just a positive and a negative side, it's positive and negative all around. It like creates a bubble of positive and negative polarity all around the magnet. So in a certain sense, it's not as strong as a regular magnet. The strength of how would I say that word? Magnetivity? I don't even know how that word would be said. But the magnetic strength of it is a little bit diminished because because the polarity is universal all the way around. If you can imagine like an invisible bubble of magnetic strength around a magnet, That's how this 3D magnet would work. As where a normal magnet, which has a specific negative and a positive side, it creates not so much a perfect sphere around it, but how would you visualize that? More of like two cones. You know, if you can imagine like a plate, let's just say a plate with a cone whose point is pointing down, one above and one underneath. That would be the positive and the negative. Whereas the 3D magnet now has a plate with a sphere around it. And that makes it able to go into an MRI machine. So now they can get MRIs if they have this 3D magnet implanted instead of like a regular one. So today I'm going to go assemble those magnets. That's not my normal operation, but I know how to do it and I'm certified to do it. So that makes me more useful online. Because really they had no intention of bringing me in for work today on a Saturday. But I asked, you know, is there any work? What's going on? And they said, well, for sub-assembly, we're doing magnets if you want to come and do that. I'm like, oh yeah, for sure. And I'm good at doing it. I'm quick, you know, so I'm very efficient. So my output is good. So that's another way I've made myself useful at this job. You know, how could this apply to personal relationships? You know, men, you know, if you're married out there, you know, do as much as you can for your woman. You know, around the house, you know, chores, and just be as capable as you can as a person in general. You know, not for the intended pursuit of being needed, but just the better person you are, you know, the more people are going to want to be around you and have you around. And I think that's a good thing. I don't think there's anything bad about that. But you know, some of the ways these 48 laws of power are written, it's I understand why people think it's like a very, you know, manipulative. Sorry, it's early, it's hard. My mouth isn't awake yet. It's a very manipulative way to think because it's basically spelling it out. But you know, there's, like I said, these laws are like tools. I mean, you could use them for good, and you can also use them in a very evil, manipulative way. It all depends on who's using the law. So that's how I see it. Make yourself useful in a way where you do it with the best intentions. You know, and the most positive mindset you have. You know, just be of service at all times, and it'll eventually get noticed. And that's how I got noticed at the rescue. You know, I would just show up every day, let's walk some dogs, let's get some energy out. You know, let's hang out in the room and socialize, get them socialized, and you know, used to people, because a lot of them are still shy and timid, not used to a lot of, you know, human interaction. So that's where we came into play. The more friendly they were with people, the more volunteers would want to show up and interact with them. Everybody was benefiting all around, and I ended up benefiting, me and my woman, by being able to procure employment from that particular rescue. And then out of that, personally, I got noticed when they came to film an episode of one of Cesar Millan's shows. You know, just from being around the dogs, I got good with the dogs, and they saw that and they noticed that, and then they invited me to go up there and train with them. You know, I didn't do that with the intention of like, oh man, I hope they see me. I didn't even care. I thought it was interesting that they were filming. I'd never seen anything like that happen before, and whatever they needed to have done in terms of help, that's what I was there to do. But it's not like I was there like, oh man, I hope they notice how good I am. I didn't care. So I think if you have that kind of mindset, you know, care about how you do what you do, but don't care about what you might get out of it in terms of what other people see. hopefully the right people will see. And from that will come good things. Intention's everything. Get out of these people's way. So yep, that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna go build magnets. Whoa, that was crazy. I don't know what I just saw. Trying to be easy on gas, but I gotta get away from these people. I don't like driving next to people. So yeah, let me see, what else gotta talk about? Cracked open my Kabbalion, the Hermetic Principles, and the chapter I had left off on was the all in all. And the term the all is the term they use to describe what religions would call God. They call it the all, which I like. I think it's a much more respectful term, because I think religion has made the term God a bit toxic. And I think the axiom for that chapter is something to the effect, let me try and get this right. I think they say it is both accurate to say that the all is all, but it's also equally accurate to say that the all is in all. So to describe what that means, let me say it again. All is in the all. That's what it is. All, everything is in the all. But the all is also in everything. I think that's a better way to say it. So to wrap your mind around that, you'd have to think that in terms of this experience we're having is a mental creation of the all, or God, if you want to use that term. God created everything. We'll go with the word God for this explanation. God created everything, right? And how this book describes how God creates. They use it in the context of human understanding. So they say, if God created everything, then everything is nothing more than the mental creation of God. Through his essence and his energy, he creates everything. Including this experience, including you, including me, including every physical object and animal, every atom and molecule and corpuscle. It's all a creation of God. So he pushes this creation out. Since it all came from him, there's an essence of him in it, in everything, in all of it. So to a certain degree, I've had to stop myself. Like this is nothing more than, from every perspective possible, from me speaking to this camera now, to you hearing this video, this is all God experiencing his own creation, from every aspect conceivable. On the scale of experience, from the worst to the best, it's all God experiencing what he's created. And then some would ask, well, then does that mean God created all of the terrible experiences? Yes. He created it all. It's all here, it's all happening, it's all now. And there's no limit to it. think that's a pretty way to think about it. No stone has been left unturned when it comes to these experiences that are taking place in the world. I think that's just the way it has to be. That is the balance. Everything is in perfect balance, and everything is in perfect harmony. It just depends on where you're focusing your attention. For people who only see terrible things in the world, that's what you're focusing on. You're just going to get more of that. That's where your habit of attention is. If your habit of attention is seeing the beautiful side of life, you're going to get more of that too. And if your habit of attention is balanced somewhere between the two, you see both going on. I think that's more of a realistic way to see the world. The world's not just one thing. The world is all things. The all is all things. I'm trying to see how I could tie those two together. I'm sure there's a way. The law of... Let me see. So the law I read was the literal law was be so capable that people have to be so capable and useful that people come to depend on you. Well, to a certain degree, the all is capability itself. The all is dependability itself. It's the ultimate capability that we all are dependent upon. And I think it's our egos as humans. I think we are so capable and that we don't need to depend on anybody. That's keeping us from discovering God or the all and the necessity that he plays in our lives. Because there will be times and moments in life that all your capabilities and all your attributes, no matter how honed you are, there will come a time where you will need to depend on God. Even if it's just you're going to have some sort of faith in something, that there will be some sort of moment in life where faith comes into play, and that's when you will discover God or the all, however you want to term it. I like how the Kybalion talks about God. You see, like the 48 laws of power. The Kybalion would state that God itself is law. God is the law from which all other laws come from. He is law itself. In the most general and abstract of terms. As I say, God is love. We love things. God is love. It goes from being a verb to a noun when you talk about God. Even though the most famous verse, John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever would believe in him shall not perish but have eternal life. So even in that verse, they use it as a verb. God loved the world, but God is love. When you make that statement, it's now a noun. It's a different thing to say, oh, I trust this person. When you use the word trust, it's a verb. But when you just say, I am trust, that's a way more profound statement to make. Pretty deep when you think of those terms, when you think in those terms. lot of dead air on this one. Sorry for that. Trying to conjure up more thoughts that are positive. Trying to stray away from the negative. That's why I had to spin that daily law into something a little bit more positive. Because I see what people mean. It sounds kind of manipulative to say make people have to depend on you. It almost puts them like at the mercy of your usefulness. I don't like that. But that's the better way to think about it. Just be so useful that people come to just out of pure charitable goodwill. Be that kind of useful. That's why when it comes to like all my jobs and every no matter where I'm at, no matter what I'm doing, I'm the what do you need guy. What do you need? I'll do that. How can I be of service? Where can I contribute to whatever the mission is or the goal? How can I help achieve that? I'll do that. Doesn't matter what it is. No job's too big or too small. If I fit in, even if it means getting out of the way. Okay, you don't need my service. If I'm being in the way, okay, I'll step back. I don't have an ego about any of this. I just want to know that I help to contribute to success. That's how I approach, all my employment. That's how I approach my personal relationship with my woman. I don't want to hold her back in any way. I don't want to, bring her down in any way. I want to lift her up. I want her to win. If she wins, I win. That's how I see it. That's how a good teammate works. You know your role, and you contribute in a way that serves the team. And that's how I try to place myself in any team, a working team, a sports team, a team of a personal relationship. I am here to help us win. I think that's where a lot of people make the mistake. Their ego gets in the way and they want to be the reason why they won. What if the need of the team requires you to step back? Ride the bench. Right now we need you to sit on the bench. That will help us win. Some people, that's crushing to their ego. I don't care. As long as we still win. Alright, wasn't that the goal? To win? I'm still part of the team. And a good teammate will recognize that. They'll thank you for it. They'll appreciate that you did that with no ego involved. You didn't push back. You didn't argue. You didn't mope. Cheer on the winning of others. It's another good attribute of a teammate. Congratulate the guy that hit the winning shot. Man, thank you, nailed it. That's how you're supposed to be. And if everybody was like that, then everybody would be congratulating each other. Everybody would want everybody else winning. Everybody would try to be lifting everybody else up because they know everybody else is trying to lift them up. But the ego gets in the way, and then that's what ruins it. Even that Bible verse, for God so loved the world. He loved the world. It doesn't say for God loved himself so much that he created the world. Doesn't say that. A lot of people, the way they see religion and people not having to go to church, but when people go to church and they praise God and pray to God and thank God, they see it wrong. They see it as God needing the praise and the thanks, and that's what he wants. I wouldn't state it that way. God doesn't need anything. God is everything. And I think if you look at it from that perspective, then the dynamic changes. God is all, hence the term the all. He is without lack. He lacks nothing. He is everything. I think maybe the ability to emulate that to a certain degree would be a healthy mindset to cultivate. You know, approaching anything from a mentality of lack, you're already a step behind. You're already losing. Enter everything in from a mindset of winning. You've already won, right? You're here. You're having this experience. You're having this life experience. You've already won. You know, even if you're under the worst circumstances, good. You know why? Because there's nowhere to go but up. Say you're at the lowliest, the worst bottom place you could think of. Thank God for that experience, because now you have nowhere to go but up. You know, and it's the other way around for those who let's just say, you know, there's a lot of people that have reached the top, and through sheer hard work and skill. That, you know, most of the time that's what it takes. Let's put that off to the side. There are also those who just got there by they knew the right people, you know, just at the right time, at the right place. Just, you know, all the things fell into place and they really didn't have to work for it. Well, if you're at the top, there's nowhere to go but down. And if you've never been at the bottom, man, that drop to the bottom is hard. But once you've been at the bottom and you've made your way towards the top, let's say you get knocked down to the bottom again, it's not so bad. You've already been there. You know what it's like. And you know what it took to get to the top. So you could do it again. So I think it's important. It's important to know what the bottom feels like. I think that's what most people are lacking in life. You know, they've had such an easy experience. You know, they were born into a relatively good family, and they've never really known lack or what it is to be hungry or starve or be homeless or have to live out of a car. You know, or have to borrow money. You know, they've always had it pretty easy. So it gets a little rough when the hard times come because they're not prepared for it. So that's where voluntary adversity comes into play. You know, willingly put yourself through hard times so you know what that feels like. You need to know where the guardrails are at. So that way you appreciate everything a little bit more. That's what I say. So now I'm here, and that's my spiel for the day. All right, let's go to work.